We are so freaking back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure y'all saw the announcement yesterday. I want to say it was. Maybe it was Saturday. It seems like it's been a blur. But Best Ball Mania is open. Okay. A lot to talk about. The main thing I want to be looking at here is going to be the structure of this tournament. I could not be happier with it. I mean, if they would have asked me what I wanted, this is exactly what it would have been. It is a $25 buy-in, $15 million prize pool, just like last year. But what is different is they spread out the payouts a considerable amount. So if you're looking at this, first place, $1.5 million. Now, of course, I'm locking up first place. I've already determined I am going to win this season. So I don't want any of y'all focusing on that. You're just wasting your time. But y'all can be looking at second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. And what is incredible, look at these prizes. $750,000 for second, $500,000 for third, $400,000 for fourth, $300,000 for fifth, $239,000 for sixth, $200,000 for seventh. I mean, all the way through 20th place, you are in these six figures for the prize pool. All the way through 100th place, you're in five figures for the prize pool. So they have flattened out this payout structure a ton. I am so freaking excited to get this going, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, we are going to, and I'm happy to see. I don't know if we're going to be streaming for 250 days in a row or 240, whatever the hell we did last year. But we are going to be streaming pretty damn close to every single day from here on out. We are hopping in Best Ball Mania tonight, and I could not be more excited, ladies and gentlemen. Now, full transparency. This is my first draft, so y'all are going to get to see me fail. Y'all are going to get to see me flounder, but it's nothing that's new here. Y'all are used to that at this point, so I could not be more excited. And John, happy to see you, my friend. Yes, I got word from Underdog. We are going to have some flock tournaments on Underdog this offseason. So I know we started brainstorming what y'all would potentially want earlier in the offseason. I think like a couple weeks ago, we brought up the first idea. I know some people maybe wanted like start two tight ends, tight end premium, maybe super flex. I don't want super flex. Maybe y'all do. I don't know. I'm going to do what y'all want. So anything that y'all would want to see from an Underdog tournament that's a flock fantasy tournament on Underdog, let me know. But we got Big Nuts 69 in this draft with us. That's Nightmare. He's in here at pick 5. Happy to see you, my friend. We got BSB in here at the 10 spots. We have, I think that's it. Do we only have 2 people in here with us? But please let me know if you made it into this draft. And I agree. I would rather it be one quarterback. Jamie is in here at 7. Happy to see you, Jamie. Thank you so much for everybody coming in to hang out with us. So CMC and Jamar Chase both off the board. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take CeeDee Lamb. I believe CeeDee Lamb ended up being the wide receiver 1 in ADP when it was all said and done in the big board draft right before the NFL draft. Obviously, nothing really changes here for the Dallas Cowboys with the NFL draft. A lot of people, including myself, were expecting, maybe just hoping that this team was going to go ahead and take a running back. That way, I mean, we could have someone to be excited about because obviously it's a pretty damn good offense. But nope, they don't. We're rolling with CeeDee Lamb as the only piece of this Dallas Cowboys offense going into the future. So let's take him at pick 3 and see what happens from here. And like I said, this is my first draft. So one, I have an excuse when we draft a horrible team, per usual. And 2, I really don't know what to expect in this. Like I said, we had some drafts in the big board tournament before the NFL draft, but that was a 20-round structure. Here with this being an 18-round structure, it's going to be a little bit different because when you have the 20 rounds, I'm pretty much going 3 quarterbacks, 3 tight ends every single time. Here in that 18-player structure, it's going to be a little bit tougher. But Henry says Zeke is back, so I saw someone else in the chat earlier before we get started saying that Zeke had officially signed with the Cowboys. Has he? Vinny says Mason dissing Trey out the gates. Well, the reason we take CeeDee Lamb here at pick 3, just in case you are new here, we take CeeDee Lamb at pick 3. So in round 18, we can get the league-winning quarterback, the league-winning stack that we are looking for. Okay? And yeah, Zeke's back in Dallas. Ooh. So here's what we're doing, ladies and gentlemen. Let's stretch it out. We got CeeDee Lamb at 3. We're going to follow this up with Ezekiel Elliott at pick 22. And then we're going to round it out with Trey Lance at pick 27. And then maybe later in the draft, we take Dak Prescott as a backup for Trey Lance, just in case Lance misses a game or two. But this is exciting. Henry says $3 million contract. Yeah, I'm on Twitter right now. I'm just looking at the Ezekiel Elliott thing. And honestly, I understand that cap hit's a little bit different, but I would assume that them signing Zeke, you just immediately at least sell $3 million worth of Ezekiel Elliott jerseys, right? I mean, I live in Texas. I see him everywhere. I'm assuming that is an easy decision for them. But let's go ahead and let's pull this up. Harrison goes for... what the heck? Harrison goes before Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs makes it to pick 15 in this draft. What's the ADP for Jahmyr Gibbs? I need to figure this out. The ADP for Gibbs is 12. I am telling you right now, if Jahmyr Gibbs is a round 2 pick this year, out of the early round players, Jahmyr Gibbs will be my most drafted guy. He'll be my most drafted player. Okay. Now, Debo, Devontae Adams go. I'm not going to tell you to go use these rankings right now. They're by no means ready for you to use to draft off them. But I started making our best ball rankings for flockfantasy.com. I think we may end up having them ready for y'all by the time we get to tomorrow. But sit here and think. On the way back around, there are a handful of wide receivers that I'm completely fine with here. I'm not a big Devon Achane guy. We were saying to sell Achane before the draft. I'm not too concerned about, right? I mean, I know he's a fast running back, but ultimately he's a round 4 pick. God, I just think that this ADP is horrendous. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to say F ADP at this point. I don't care. This ADP is going to wildly change. I am going to continue to take someone who does not score fantasy points. We're going to take Chris Olave. You know why? It's because when you are drafting a team, especially if it's on a live stream, do you draft that team for fantasy football production? Or do you draft that team for some swag appeal? I'm going for swag appeal here. I'm not going for fantasy points. So I'm going to take Olave at 22. And Achane continues to fall. I'm not an Achane fan, but at some point, like what is the price that he lands, and when do we actually end up having to consider him? Achane goes 26. So here's what we are doing, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to continue to ignore fantasy points, and we are going to go with the swag appeal of Jalen Waddle. We're going to start 3 wide receivers straight. Jalen Waddle, 3 straight seasons over 1,000 receiving yards, still an incredibly young wide receiver. Yes, the touchdowns weren't there this past season. We know he has the big playability, which is something we're typically looking for in a best ball format. We're going to set up a prayer we could find running back value later on. So let's go ahead and let's take Waddle here. And of course, real quick, I probably should have said this way earlier. Just in case you don't know what this is, if you're confused, I'm sure you probably already know, but it's Underdog Fantasy. It's where we draft every single day. I mean, they're best ball drafts, and no time commitment at all during the year. It's how I draft a ridiculous amount of teams. I think we're probably going to draft 300, 400 teams this year. And yeah, if you want to get in on the action, I won $150,000 on Underdog 2 years ago. Sadly, last year I wasn't smart enough to draft Puka or Kyron, so we did not win any tournaments. Which I saw someone in the comment section after I said we didn't win any tournaments last year going, this guy didn't win a fantasy football league. I can't even address that stuff. But anyway, if you're looking at Underdog, you can find a link in the description in the comment section. Code FLOCK will get you a 100% deposit match. Plus, it will get you our best ball rankings very soon, which we're probably going to be finalizing tonight or tomorrow morning for y'all. And so 100% deposit match, best ball rankings. And they have Pick'em there as well if you are interested in the NBA. Obviously, there are a ton of NBA Pick'ems available right now because it is the playoffs. And I believe the Pick'em for tonight is Jokic. But this changes pretty much every night for whatever game's happening. So if you're new to Underdog Fantasy, you are going to get a Pick'em special regardless if you use code FLOCK. It's just going to depend on which day you sign up. But bam, there's a little graphic for y'all. And yeah, these are the states Underdog is available in. So it's not available in Nevada, Washington, Louisiana, Michigan. I think that's Idaho, Hawaii, and the 2 other states I'm not smart enough to identify. But I'm sure we have some geography experts in here that can help you out. But after we take Waddle, you have Pittman, Evans, Devonta Smith all going at receiver. You have Jacobs, Henry going at running back. I'll tell you right now, based off the limited work we put into our best ball ranking so far, I am probably not going to be drafting Derrick Henry much at all this year. I understand the appeal. I understand where people are coming from. Just for us to see a true league-winning season from a running back at his age, I don't know. Historically speaking, the hit rates on that bet are extremely low. And what I'd probably rather do than take a shot on like the 30-year-old running back in mid-round 3 is I'd way rather just draft Travis Etienne in round 4. And I honestly think we're probably going to end up with a lot of Sam Laporta this year. If Sam Laporta is a 4th-round pick, I'll be excited about that as well. Now, keep in mind, I was not smart enough to draft Sam Laporta last season when obviously Laporta was a significantly better value. So we're probably just chasing the points from last year, and we're probably going to pay because of it. But Big Bro Joe says, you think rookie Ray Davis for the Bills will pop off this year? I'm a Kentucky fan. I know some people like the prospect profile coming into the NFL. I don't necessarily think he is going to pop off. I think the job is still going to be James Cook. It's not that it was like a bad pick by the Bills at all, right? I mean, if we go through and if we look at the Bills depth chart going into the NFL draft, this was a team that was sitting with James Cook, Ty Johnson, and Darrington Evans. So it makes a lot of sense for them to go out there, take Ray Davis as a running back too, have some depth in this running back room, still view James Cook as the starting back here. So I am not getting super pumped about Ray Davis, but I understand why you would be. I just think that it's going to be a running back that probably has a small role from week to week perspective. And then if you see James Cook go down, he has a little more upside. But I do expect someone like Ray Davis. And honestly, I'm going to say it with a lot of these rookies that are going to be going right now. Rookies typically are great picks, especially in Underdog Fantasy, when we are looking for the elite level ceiling in weeks 15, 16, 17 at the end of the year. Historically speaking, rookies have been phenomenal assets to make your bets on. But the issue that you're going to find a lot of times in drafts that are happening in April and early May is since everybody, including myself, I mean, I've been talking dynasty fantasy football all off season. We've been talking rookie nonstop. These guys are going to be a little bit elevated in price right this second in comparison to where they're going to be in August and September. Because right now we're all thinking about upside. We're thinking about weeks 15, 16, 17 as we probably should be. But what happens as we get closer to August and September is a lot of people change their mindset to be looking at median projections rather than raw upside. And yeah, you are going to see those running backs slide down the board just a bit. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to take our first RB here in James Cook. If Rashee Rice didn't have any concerns off the field, I think you go ahead and you take Rashee Rice. But ultimately, I'm fine pulling the trigger on our first running back here. And I actually really prefer the combo of like Chris Olave and James Cook going with that wide receiver, a late round 2, even if we're reaching on him according to ADP. I would rather go like Olave, James Cook than Devon Achane, Amari Cooper. At least personally. Okay, so we have Stroud, Andrews, both off the board. I think McBride takes a small hit with Harrison coming in, just given the target share. At least in my mind, it's going to be hard for him to replicate what he did last season. Now, we are going to go ahead. We are going to make the decision to take Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, once we take Mahomes, we need to have our eyes set in on getting Xavier Worthy later on. But I understand maybe we got lucky 2 years ago. But last year we won $150,000 on Underdog. We advanced way more. We advanced teams at a higher clip with a volume of drafts that we did than pretty much anybody that you're going to find. Like absurd numbers. A big reason for that is, one, our most drafted running back was Josh Jacobs. Our second most drafted guy was Kenneth Walker. But we took Patrick Mahomes in round 5 every chance we got. I think we won the big dog with Patrick Mahomes for $100,000 2 years ago. And we had Patrick Mahomes round 5 unstacked. The Chiefs are one of those very rare offenses where you can see 12 skill positional guys touch the football on a week-to-week perspective. So obviously we want to chase our stacks where they are available. It will be something that we are looking to do. If we can get Worthy later on at a reasonable price point, I will be happy to do so. But nonetheless, I am happy with a round 5 Patrick Mahomes pick almost regardless. Okay. Now, this chef says, I'm from November 2024. Troy Franklin is wide receiver 7 in PPR. I really like Troy Franklin way before the process played out. I mean, if we're going before the NFL Combine, I'm looking at Troy Franklin coming out of Oregon saying, okay, this is someone that breaks out as a true freshman, dominates as a true sophomore, declares as a true junior. All the metrics, if you're looking at his yards per route run, if you're looking at his market share numbers, they all look great. I'm freaking pumped. He goes to the Combine, looks pretty small. He's not as athletic as we were expecting. NFL mock drafters start moving him down their boards. I'm like, oh, okay, well, crap. Looks like maybe Franklin wasn't the player I thought he was. And now he falls to round 4. I understand. Pretty good spot, right? Bo Nix, you have the chemistry. You have a shallow depth chart. I mean, I think we saw some Cortland Sutton trade rumors today. So, I mean, maybe if Sutton gets traded, he's the wide receiver 1 in that offense. But still at the same time, I mean, this is a spot where he's a day 3 rookie pick. I'm sorry, day 3 NFL draft pick. I think he is another perfect example of what you're going to see in that everybody, including myself, where we've all been talking rookies over the past few months. I think that we're probably going to elevate his price a little bit higher than where he actually should be. And what you're going to see is you're going to see Troy Franklin cheaper in August and September than where he is drafted today. So Franklin may not be a guy that I'm taking a ton of. And if we're just getting like a check-in on some of these rookie prices, right? Let's check in, because I want to say I'm not opposed to drafting rookies. I love drafting rookies. And you're going to see, especially in a few months, that, I mean, my teams are loaded up with these guys. But here, Marvin Harrison Jr. goes before Jahmyr Gibbs. I will never make that decision. Malik Neighbors goes at the beginning of round 3. I'm not going to talk down on that. You want to do it, you do it. Brian Thomas Jr. goes before Jordan Addison, Dalton Kincaid. I'm not going to talk down on it. I'm not doing it. I would go Addison. I would go Kincaid. Rome goes before James Cook, Rashad White. You can do it if you want. I'm completely fine with Rome before Amari. It's just more about the skill positional values, wide receiver versus running back there. So, okay. So I will be drafting these rookies probably more often later in the offseason than where they're going currently. But it is interesting to see. Keep in mind, this ADP is not going to be set. Please do not think that you just have to follow this ADP one for one. You can go out there and you can make your own calls and take your own shots. Whereas once we get to June, July, this ADP is going to be so damn accurate that it'll be a lot tougher to go out there and take someone that's 10 picks down. But this is like just the ADP list Underdog threw up as he got reaction. So this really isn't a perfect indicator of where market values are going to end up like this ADP list would be later on, right? Okay. I know who we want. I really want him. We'll see if we get him. Yeah, Kenneth Walker, going back to what we were talking about 2 years ago, will be one of my most drafted players if he is going to be going here at the 6-7 turn. Running back still on his rookie deal is proven to be great. So the issue you're going to see is Zach Charbonnet is going to be a running back that has a role as a receiver, which that is going to cause some issues here, obviously, but it is what it is. And I think that we are good to scroll way the hell down and take Xavier Worthy at pick 94 if he makes it back. I'm sorry, ADP 94. I'm going to take him at pick 75 if he's here. Typically, I am not reaching for stacks like this. It's very hypocritical, and we've gone through and we've talked about these rookies probably being overdrafted early on. But if I'm looking at Worthy versus Deontay, Chris Godwin, DeAndre Hopkins, JSN, Christian Watson, I think that this is a completely fine wide receiver tier to take him in. I don't expect like JSN to be that much more expensive than Xavier Worthy by the time we actually get to drafts in August. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead. I am going to take him here. I think he's a much better pick than his ADP indicates at this moment. He stacks with Patrick Mahomes for us. Like I said, this ADP is by no means set, where I promise you, if you're watching a stream in June or July, you're not going to see me taking a player that's 20 picks down on ADP. But I don't think this ADP is super accurate right now. Yada, yada, yada. I'm just trying to justify this pick any way I can. So, yeah, I'm honestly really excited about this team. Wide receiver, we have Lamb, Olave, Waddle, Worthy. I think we have a ton of big play potential there. Running back, we have two guys that are proven producers on their rookie deal still in James Cook, Kenneth Walker. We have a quarterback that is won us a ton of money in the past in Patrick Mahomes. So, a well-balanced team. I like it. I like it. And this is something that I've made the mistake on over and over and over and over again in underdog drafts. And it's a lesson that, for whatever reason, everybody else doesn't have to learn the hard way. I need to learn it the hard way, consistently. But it is a much better spot, at least for me in my drafts, to go balanced at the beginning, where we are not having to go with an individual position later. Where it seems like where I put myself in trouble is we try to go with the hero wide receiver build. We go Lamb round 1. We don't take another wide receiver through the next 6 rounds. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't matter what the board looks like. In rounds 8, 9, 10, 11, I'm having to take wide receivers. Or vice versa at running back, right? No matter what the board looks like, I go way too hard 0 RB. In round 6, 7, 8, I'm having to go wide receiver. I'm having to go running back, whatever it is. And typically, I think lacking the flexibility through the later rounds, it can work out for you, of course, if the board falls your way. But the issue is, if the board gets away from you, you may be stuck being forced to reach on an individual position when you don't necessarily want to. Okay. And let's take a quick break from this board real quick. I want to say something. I think the plan for live streams, as of right now, here's my plan. I'm not going to stream every single day for like 240 days in a row like we did last year. I actually have a vacation scheduled for this season, this off season, which I'm excited about. Obviously, I'd never schedule a vacation for during the year, so I don't know if we're going to go for some crazy 240 day in a row streak like we did last year. Last year, we streamed every single day, starting when Ball Mania launched, which was like April 28th or April 29th, whenever it was, all the way through the new year. I think this year we're going to be streaming pretty much every day at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, and early on in the off season, like right now, April, May, June, we'll probably just be doing 1 to 2 underdog drafts. And then later on in the offseason, we can pick that up to 2 to 3 underdog drafts. And as we get closer to the season, 3 to 4, 4 to 5 underdog drafts to stream. But I think we are going to be live at 9 p.m. Eastern every single day. That's the goal. Years past, I just went live whenever I felt like it. Whenever I got done with all my work, I was like, all right, fun. Let's go ahead and let's have a live stream. Now I think we're going to be a little more consistent for all of y'all. Now, that team takes Dak. Obviously, we were wanting Dak Prescott, considering the fact that we were sitting with CeeDee Lamb here. And now that he is gone, it's a little bit of a more awkward spot for us. Our options are Benson, Nick Chubb, Austin Eckler. At running back, wide receiver, we have A.D. Mitchell, Mike Williams, Curtis Samuel. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to reach on Nick Chubb here. Obviously, devastating injury last year. I don't know if we can say too much else. The Browns don't go out there and address the running back position really at all. So running back drafted in 2018. Now, yes, he stayed all 4 years in Georgia, so he's a little bit older than what you'd have with the Saquon Barkley in that same draft class, right? But before the injury, he was still an efficient running back last season. He's going right next to Jameson Williams. So I don't want to act like I love this pick, right? I just think that if you're looking at the wide receivers in this range, they're not super compelling. If we would have had the ability to take Dak Prescott, I'd have been over the moon. I'd have been super excited about it. Here, I just think we're boxed out a little bit, so I'm going to be fine reaching on Nick Chubb. Okay, so Mike Williams off the board, 97. Curtis Samuel goes. So we can do a couple different things. One, we can take Trey Benson and continue to try to build around these running backs that can possibly have that higher ceiling in weeks 15, 16, 17. We can go David Njoku and continue to tell a story that maybe the Cleveland Browns offense is better than what people expect with a combination of Chubb and Njoku. We're going to go Benson, and my reasoning for this is I think if you're going to be looking at what you have right now in terms of our build for this team, if we take David Njoku, I still think that we're going to be stuck drafting 3 tight ends with this roster. If we were in a position where maybe at the turn we decided to go like Jake Ferguson and Njoku, and then all of a sudden we thought that we could get the added on bonus where we are only having to draft 2 of these guys, we can allocate another roster spot to the wide receiver position, then cool, that'd be great, but I don't know if that's the situation here. So let's take Benson. I mean, obviously it should be a struggle early on with him splitting this backfield with James Conner, but with all the money up top for week 17, I mean, what we are trying to optimize for is weeks 15, 16, 17. So what the hope would be for this roster is that James Cook, Kenneth Walker, they're able to go through, they're able to carry the load at the beginning of the season. And then hopefully we get Chubb, Trey Benson coming on later on. And yeah, if they break out later in the year, have the high ceilings for weeks 15, 16, 17, they can be at low ownership in the tournament. And hopefully they have a high enough ceiling to win us some serious money then. But yeah, I like the team. I honestly like this team more than the big board teams that we are drafting. But Tommy knows, always happy to see us, says, let's go, best YouTube channel, bar none. Pickens and Christian Watson crushed my soul, but I'm back and ready to go back down that road. Let me know what you think of Christian Watson. I mean, I like Christian Watson as well over the past 2 seasons, but obviously it was not a fun season with Watson this past year. The rookie, phenomenal with his yards per route run, was at the very top of the class. What's actually funny with Christian Watson is maybe one of the concerns that you thought he had coming into the season was Jordan Love was a little bit of a question mark. It didn't exactly know what to expect. And yeah, Jordan Love comes out. Jordan Love is phenomenal. And Christian Watson still does not even come close to getting there. So, okay. Now, you have Ladd, 80, Mitchell, and Keon Coleman. All the rookie wide receivers going here rounds 9 and 10. I will say I like the Ladd and Keon Coleman values. The 80 Mitchell pick, I hate. I'm not going to be taking 80 Mitchell over Keon Coleman. No interest in it. I don't think either are great wide receiver prospects. I was adamantly against 80 Mitchell coming into the NFL draft. If you looked at all his production measures in college, I mean, hook 'em horns. I want to root for our guy, but ultimately at the end of the day, not productive at Georgia, not productive at Texas. People want to blame Quinn Ewers, but it's not that, I mean, he just was drawing a ton of targets and wasn't doing much with it. No, it's that this was someone that wasn't even drawing targets at a high clip. So I do not know, but I'm not going to find myself taking a ton of Mitchell in drafts this season. Okay, so Justin Herbert off the board, 114. Is this the team that took Ladd? Okay, yeah, getting Ladd 103 and then Justin Herbert 114. I really do like that. That team. Gus Edwards goes 115. I and probably not going to be taking Gus Edwards this year. Not that he's a bad pick, but just because I am not smart enough to take Gus Edwards and win money like you would have last year. Okay, so Tua goes 116. So Tua would have been our selection to stack with Jalen Waddle. But now that Tua's gone, I think we're actually going to pivot here, and I think we're going to go Caleb Williams. I mean, if you're looking at Caleb, quarterback that has rushing upside, at the same time, he has Rome, DJ Moore, and Keenan Allen. I understand that we don't have any of the stacks with the Chicago Bears here, which is why I would have preferred going with Tua to pair up Tua and Waddle. But still, at the end of the day, with the Russian quarterbacks, I think you can get away with not having them stacked a little bit more than you would be able to with the pocket passing options, such as like Tua, Cousins, Stafford. Those guys are going to need their stacks because if they have a massive week, it's going to be off the back of their passing volume. Here in the case of Caleb Williams, you could see him having that massive spike week, which includes the 40 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. And obviously not ideal to not have the stack. I'm just trying to come through and make up any excuse I can for not getting it. I mean, we could always just go out there and reach on Cole Kmet. The opportunity cost to reach on Kmet is we are passing on Rome, we're passing on Myers, Romeo Dobbs. I don't want to make it sound like it's a good Rome. Is that a devastating decision? It's whatever. We're going to have to draft 3 tight ends regardless. Typically, I'm not reaching anywhere close to get our stacks like we are in this draft, because even if a stack hits, right? I mean, this is something we've talked about year after year after year. If you see people consistently reaching like 15 picks just to complete a stack, you have to realize that those teams are probably going to get outkicked and outgunned by other teams in the same tournament that got the same stack but didn't reach on that value, and instead they were able to pick up an extra high-profile producer, right? So typically, not wanting to reach on stacks, I think you can make a strong argument that this is a bad decision to go out there and take Cole Kmet where we did. You can make a strong argument for that. But I don't know. It is what it is. It is what it is. And I'm trying to think. Okay. This is going to be a long road of live streaming, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, last year we went 240 days in a row. So I'm not trying to jump straight into like the 4-hour streams, the 5-hour. I mean, hell, the beginning of last year, we were streaming for like 7 hours a day, plus the 2 videos a day. So trying to pace ourselves and build up. So here's what we'll do. I think the gauge that we'll have early on in the offseason, if we are going to hit another draft after our first one, we have 700 people watching this. What's a reasonable stance? But let's just say, if we hit 400 likes on the stream, we'll fire up another draft, ladies and gentlemen. 400 likes on the stream, we'll fire up another one. I think that's a good gauge to have for the drafts early on. Because I want the majority of them to just be one team streams. But so after we take Kmet, Jaden Daniels goes 124. I really like the Daniels pick. I mean, this is a quarterback that obviously has a ton of rushing upside. He fits the mold of someone that could possibly be bad from an NFL perspective while still being great from a fantasy football perspective. I'm not saying he's going to be bad. By no means do I want to make it sound like I think he will be. But I mean, even if Daniels is a subpar NFL quarterback, right? He goes out there, he averages 45 rushing yards per game. He can still dominate in fantasy. And then on the off chance he ends up being a really good quarterback, then I don't know, ton of upside. Okay. Himney says there's one player I'm dying for at this point. Is it Ezekiel Elliott's by chance? Yeah, that team here stacks Dowdle and Elliott at the 11-12 turn, just locking themselves up pretty much all the Dallas Cowboys running back touches, which I don't think you can argue with at all. It's not Zeke that you're dying for. There's one player that I really like here in this range. Let's see. Let's move this around. Shakir goes off the board 137. So once we go Mahomes, Caleb, especially knowing the fact that we're probably wanting to draft 3 tight ends, we are not taking another quarterback the rest of this draft. Really doesn't matter the value that we have fall to us. I mean, if we had some crazy value fall to us in like the big board draft where there are 20 rounds, then sure, I may go ahead. I may pull the trigger on the 3rd guy, but just no reason to in my mind in this kind of draft. Zach Charbonnet goes 140. I love the value with both Seattle running backs. I'll be taking a lot of Charbonnet. I'll be taking a lot of Kenneth Walker if this is their price points. Charbonnet, Dotson, both off the board. I would probably have taken Dotson if you had made it here. I lost money taking Pat Freiermuth last season. Does that mean we shouldn't take him this year? I don't know. What we can do is we can monopolize the backfield touches in Cleveland by going ahead and taking Jerome Ford and hell, let's do it, especially since we have Chubb and Benson, so we are backloading the majority of our running back production. Typically, I'd say what we're looking to do is obviously we're looking to just have the nuts outcome. We want the top 0.01 percentile outcome. So we don't love drafting backup running backs. And the reason is if your starter goes, say you take Christian McCaffrey round 1, right? In theory, it doesn't make a lot of sense for you to take Christian McCaffrey's backup RB because if CMC gets injured, there's no way in hell you're winning the tournament. But you can go through, you can talk yourself into it by asking, okay, well, what happens if, say, Nick Chubb misses the first 6 weeks of the season, but then he turns out to be a league winner in the second half? And in that instance, if he missed the first half of the season, maybe a lot of those teams that drafted Nick Chubb, they actually don't advance to the tournament. So if we can sneak a Nick Chubb team through and we have that elite level ceiling for weeks 15, 16, 17 at low ownership, then maybe it works out. But maybe I'm just going through and spinning a bunch of bullcrap together, trying to justify us taking a handcuff running back in a tournament. Okay. So Quentin Johnson off the board 145. Based off the ADP that you have. Okay, here are a couple different things. One, I am such a hypocrite. Like literally, we're just going to take Freiermuth and hope for one time that he can score touchdowns. It won't happen, but we'll try to tell ourselves a story. But I'm just a hypocrite in that every time we're on the board, I'm like, ooh, we can go Slicky Ricky. Oh, let's get another rookie in here. After literally just talking this entire stream about, rookies are going to be more expensive now than they are a few months from now. Everybody's thinking rookies. Maybe wait to draft your rookies till later on. Then every time we're on the clock, I'm like, ooh, a rookie. Exciting stuff. Okay. But Tommy Knows says, speaking of Gus Edwards, why is he drafted much higher compared to Dobbins, who goes at the end of drafts? He is currently healthy, and would he be a backup to his former backup? It's at least a 50-50 now. So I think Dobbins is maybe the sexier draft pick. Dobbins is the guy that has a little more name appeal, which is always the guy that I'm getting suckered into, right? But I mean, if you do look at what's happened through J.K. Dobbins' entire career, every single season. And I mean every year. Anybody who's drafted him in fantasy football has been extremely disappointed. There's never been a year in fantasy, and Dobbins was drafted back in 2020, right? We're going into year 1, 2, 3, we're going to year 4 here. Or year 5, I don't freaking know. But there's never been a year where drafting Dobbins has worked out. So I do think a lot of people have been burned, whereas I guess Edwards was a running back that, I don't want to say won leagues last year, but really helped people go through and advance later in the season. So I think Dobbins has burned a lot of people. Edwards has made some people some money. Dobbins is obviously coming off a significant injury. Seems like this coaching staff's fine with the boring running back. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to draft the boring guy that scores fantasy points. I like drafting the flashy guy that doesn't score fantasy points. So I'll probably be drafting J.K. Dobbins Well, Gus Edwards is probably the guy that is actually going to make a difference. Now, B-Ballin says 12-team Superflex tight end premium. I have the 101, 102, 105. My quarterbacks are Bryce Young, Deshaun Watson. My receivers are Waddle, JSN, Deontay, QJ, Judy. After Caleb at 1, who are we going with at the 102, 105? I'm going to go with Marvin at the 102, and then the 105, I'm going to go with whoever falls between Daniels, May, and Neighbors. Okay. Matthew says, is it just me or is tight end weirdly thin this year? I want to say the same thing, my friend, because you get to like this point of the draft. Isaiah Likely is going around 14, right? Hunter Henry's going in round 13. These are guys that were going in round 18 last year. You get to round 18 this year, and you're like, how the hell would any of these tight ends ever score points? This is one reason why we said we're actually going to draft a lot of Laporta this year if he stays in round 4. But 2, it seems like every single year it goes, oh, okay, what? Round 18 tight end are you supposed to draft that scores points? And every single year there's someone that comes out and scores a considerable amount. So I don't know. I'm just always wrong when it comes to drafting tight ends, my friend. Okay, I'm actually pretty excited about the pick that we're about to make if we can. Let's see what this team... Yeah, we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Darnell Mooney. Unless I'm mistaken, the Falcons didn't take another wide receiver, right? I mean, they could have made a great pick. They could have taken Rome instead of Penix. And then all of a sudden you have Rome, London, Pitts, Bijan, Cousins. And you have no excuse to not contend this season. Instead, they go Penix. It still projects out to be an offense that has a ton of passing volume. Mooney looks like he's going to be the wide receiver 2, running a ton of routes in said offense. They gave him the money. I mean, I understand that they traded for Rondale Moore as well, but if you look at the investment that they have into Mooney versus the investment that they have into Rondale Moore, one, Darnell Mooney's put up a better season than Rondale Moore ever has. And 2, Darnell Mooney's contract is a bigger deal than what you have with Rondale. Can we take another running back? Yeah, we can. So let's think about this. If we take another running back, we're done though. So we have 15, 16, 17, and we have 4 rounds left. If we go one more running back, we have to take one more tight end regardless. We'd have 2 more spots for receivers. Can we go with a 2-6-7-3 build? I know everybody who knows what they're doing is screaming, no, Mason, you idiot. Stop it. Don't do it. Take the receiver. You should take the wide receiver, which you probably should. But I think we go Gibson. Coaching staff that doesn't really have, too much allegiance to Ramondre. Obviously, we'd expect Ramondre Stevenson to be the starting running back, but it's coaching staff that specifically brought in Gibson. We want to believe he has a receiving skill set. They didn't draft anybody to possibly come in and be that RB2. So, yeah, I don't know. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take Antonio Gibson and cry later on when there's absolutely no hope at wide receiver later in this draft. But we need another tight end, and we need 2 more receivers to round this out. And Michael says, who signs Tyler Boyd at this point? I have no freaking idea, my friend. I think the hope for Boyd's running thin now that Jermaine is over in Cincinnati, who's just taken here at 175. I would have been excited to take him here at 190. This says, is Kyron, Saquon, Mostert, and Eckler enough at running back? A lot of people will say yes. I would say it's going to lower your median projection But if you can get that team through to weeks 15, 16, 17, and obviously have the extra roster spots to allocate to wide receiver, people smarter than I am would say, yes, go with the fragile RB build there. But I mean, I would definitely stay flexible. Like if that's how you start off and all of a sudden you really like a running back in round 16, that group's not stopping me from drafting the 5th running back, right? Alcoholic Saints fan says, Tyler Boyd in round 17 is a steal. He will be signed somewhere, number 1 free agent wide receiver. So I think 3 years ago was the year we got burned drafting Will Fuller a ton, thinking that Will Fuller would sign somewhere, and it never happened. Last year, I came extremely close to being burned drafting Kareem Hunt a ton, thinking that Kareem Hunt would go to Miami. We barely got saved. With Kareem Hunt getting like the cheapest, grossest touchdowns you could ever imagine in Cleveland. Okay, hell yes, we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Malachi Corley here. I think Corley's a great example of a wide receiver that can actually be better from a fantasy football perspective than what you have from a real life perspective. I mean, you're going to see a lot of these guys that profile to be field stretching options. They're going to go a little bit higher in the NFL draft, given the fact that they can take safety attention away, change the way defensive coordinators have to game plan against that NFL team. Whereas players like Malachi Corley, that's not the game that they have. They're going to be operating close to the line of scrimmage. Any value that they give you is going to directly translate to fantasy football points with them getting actual target volume and moving the chains. Okay, how many receivers did Cleveland bring in this year? Okay. They brought in Judy. They paid Judy an insane amount of money. That's really about it, right? You draft Jamari Thrash, someone I had no idea who he was. What round did they take him in again? Trying to see if it makes sense for us to go with Elijah Moore. I mean, we can go with Tyler Conklin and essentially make that one consolidated bet that the Jets passing offense is maybe better than people expect. Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's take Tyler Conklin, 195. And then we are going to take a wide receiver to round this out. Let's go through scroll. I'm going to have to try to find maybe someone that I like as a round 18 pick. Someone I really liked late in the big board was Alec Pierce. And clearly that pick's dead now with A.D. Mitchell going over. Luke McCaffrey may not be why do I keep going to the rookies? I know before the draft, y'all were telling me that some of your favorite picks were like Jawan Jennings was a last round pick that made some sense, which honestly, looking back on it, I think it did make a lot of sense at the time. But now that they go take another guy in round 1, obviously it's a little bit tougher. But it looks like we are not close to 400 likes, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to be shutting this bad boy down. But thank you again. I could not be more pumped to start streaming every single day. I want to remind y'all, we're going to be drafting here every single day. Underdog Fantasy, code FLOCK, get you hooked up with a 100% deposit match, plus our dynasty rankings, plus very, very soon our best ball rankings as well. And yeah, if you use code FLOCK, they're going to have an NBA Pick'em special for you pretty much every night. Tonight's going to be a Nikola Jokic more than less than half a point. But that's only going to be one for whenever you sign up in terms of the special that you get specifically with code FLOCK. After that, it would just be based off what underdog special that they have. But again, really do appreciate y'all. Really hope you have a great night. And yeah, I'll see you at 9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow.